So in this section, we'll be talking about the SEO content quality guidelines. So if you're a SEO content writer or a SEO manager, you would want to run the content that you have prepared through a bunch of quality guidelines or quality checks before you go ahead and publish this. So why is this important? We put in so much effort into researching the topics, subtopics, everything, and then we put in so much efforts into content writing and then adding images, infographics, videos and everything, and these should not go to waste. So to make sure it doesn't go to waste and it actually outranks our competition, we have a bunch of quality checks. So, what are the important goals behind content quality checks? Making sure we just go through a bunch of checklists to make sure that our content is more valuable than our competitors, so it will rank higher up in Google results, right? So these are all the factors that we need to go through. Number one, writer's errors. Doesn't matter how experienced we are as a writer, we need to make sure that the content that we have written doesn't have any sort of grammatical mistakes. So proofread and run it through Grammarly. And the second factor is make sure the content that we wrote is not plagiarized. So run it through plagiarism software. And next comes user's perspective. Make sure it's easily readable. Have a summary, a table of content section, and then an FAQ section. Make sure there are infographics and images to make sure the content that we have written is easily absorbed and it's easily scannable. Next comes important SEO considerations. The important things, all the factors that we went through in our first chapter comes under this. So we don't have to go through them again. You could just go through the template that I have attached in the resource section to make sure that all the on-site factors are taken care of. Next comes the few things that we need to go through to make sure we outrank our competition. So make sure if we could find at least 3 reasons why our web page is better than our competitors. Just compare our web page, our article, and all of our competitors' article. Competitors as in the top 10 SERP results. And can you just brainstorm randomly and say and point out why our content is better than theirs? Second comes word count comparison. Then added resources comparison. Make sure the resources that we have given, the content that we have, and images and videos, everything, just make sure when you compare ours and theirs, ours is greater than theirs. So let's just quickly run through the quality guidelines that writers should follow. Now that we have written the content, let's take this article for example. Now that we have written the content, so from the writer's perspective, the only 2 quality checks that you need to make sure is it's not plagiarized, it's plagiarism free what you have written, and then the English or the delivery, the clarity, the engagement, and everything is right. So for the first one, to make sure the grammar and everything is right, obviously if you use the app Grammarly, it will be very useful for you. This is a one-stop shop for all your English requirements. All you need to do is just paste your article here, and then it will ask you to set goals and everything based on your audience. If the audience is general, or if the audience is expert, or if they are already knowledgeable, so you could just go ahead and explore these, and what kind of tone that you want to have. I usually look for a friendly tone, but then based on your situation you could set all of these up, and then all you could say is done, and then it will show you all the possible corrections or improvements that one could make to an article. Just put in the first draft of your article. You wouldn't even have to proofread it, and put it like this, and then you could potentially accept all suggestions, or you could go ahead and look at all of these suggestions, and finally a total score will load here. So that is something that you need to keep in mind. So the articles that I publish are usually over 98 or 99 overall score. I'll just go ahead and make sure all of these corrections are done properly, and then engagement is good, delivery is slightly off. This is one tool that I suggest, prepostseo.com. Here you could either upload a file or enter a text. They have a limitation of keeping it under 1,000 words. If it's just under 1000 words, you could do it for free. So what I suggest is, if your article is longer than 1000, which I recommend that it is for SEO content, just copy the first 1000 words, put it here, and then it will give a number for plagiarism. So as long as it's under 10%, I would not worry too much about it. If you are the person who wrote the article, you know that you didn't copy from any other websites directly, right? So that is the important point to keep in mind. So next comes the quality factors that our readers or the users actually value. So if you are known already, the attention span of people all around the world across all age groups have gone down over the years, and that's mainly attributed to social media and everything, but let's not get into that. So while you are making the article and while you are publishing the article, make sure it's easily readable and scannable. Of course, the topic of the article pretty much says what the article is about, but users these days want to be able to scan the article from top to bottom. Just make sure they could absorb everything, make sure they could scan and see if this is what they actually want in order to decide that if they want to read it or not. So finally, after doing all these quality checks, just make sure that you have optimized the article for all the on-site search factors that we discussed in chapter 1. Just go through them one last time before you go ahead and publish it, so that everything is in place. Let's just quickly go through the quality factors that users value. So like we discussed before, readability and scannability is an important part. So there are a few sections that one needs to add in an article in order to make this easier for them. So number one thing is table of content. Table of content pretty much serves the purpose of scannability, because they know what are all the topics that you are covering here. So other than that, the readability and scannability factor in content is to make sure you have, number one, visual media. Add images and infographics possibly, and if you can add videos and everything, it will be useful for the readers, and the content will also be more easily absorbable. So that is number one, add visual media. Number two, add sections like table of content, and in the end, if it's possible for you to add a summary section and an FAQ section, that will be great as well. And definitely you need to highlight the header tags or the subsections properly, so it will be easier for them to scan through it. So you might be wondering, what are these highlights? So once you have done all of these things, if you are using WordPress like I am, you could go towards the end. You will see this Yoast SEO plugin here. So in this, there is a readability factor. So when what is essentially does is, it will give you rankings like all of these are good, the sentence length, the paragraph length, and everything is great. So there are a few corrections that it suggests, and I really recommend that you go ahead, and if you click at it, it will just show this text contains 3 consecutive sentences starting with the same word. Rephrase it properly so that this factor would become green, right? So if you are using some other platform, then each of that platform will definitely have a readability metric. Just go ahead and explore that. So once you are done with the article and you are almost about to publish, just go ahead and check. So whatever you are writing in, just go to the Google SERPs, plug in the target keyword. You must have done it in the beginning itself. If you haven't done it, it's a good thing to just go ahead and check all these. Just open up all of these links, and then if I've already told you this in the beginning in the root keyword research chapter itself, if you use the Ahrefs content explorer tool, it will, when you plug in the target keyword, it will show the average word count in the SERPs. So check your word count is better than theirs. What you are essentially doing here is checking with the top 10 results if our content is superior than theirs. How do we check it? The important things to check is the word count. Number one, you could do that using Ahrefs, and second, you could just scan through their article and see, okay, in this article they have not used any images at all. Going to next, what are all the resources that they have added, if they have added any sort of videos at all. So again, here also they haven't added much images, so visually we are superior. So next, what are all the resources? A lot of keywords and a lot of web pages have in-depth PDFs and everything embedded in theirs. So just go ahead and check the top 10 SERP results to just make sure that the content that we write is superior than what's written out there. Also make sure that if there is an author section down here, and if there isn't, then it's great. They are not properly following the search factors. But if there is an author section, just go ahead and check if it's written by industry experts or not. Again, here also you can't see an author section. So this itself proves how many people take the search factors very lightly, and most probably these articles are ranking mainly because of domain authority and the superior backlink building quality in the team. So as a content writer, all you could do is just check with the competing websites to make sure the article that you have written is greater than theirs.